Has Iran moved thousands of nuclear centrifuges into a secret underground complex? Is Pickaxe Mountain Iran's or Tehran's new ground zero for nuclear bomb production? Where is the proof? Well, evidence or not, Trump is already threatening to strike Pickaxe Mountain, the site buried beneath almost 100 meters of rock near Natanz. Nuclear inspectors have never entered it. Iran says its program is peaceful. Israel says Tehran is hiding the machinery needed to rebuild its uranium enrichment here. So, this is the question worth asking. If this site was untouchable months ago, what has changed? Is this new intelligence, or is this a green light building for round 2 of the Iran war? And can America destroy a facility buried deeper than Fordow? The Pickaxe Mountain site just south of Iran's Natanz nuclear complex, buried under at least 100 meters of solid rock. In 2025's 12-day war between Israel and Iran, America ran Operation Midnight Hammer. It hit Natanz nuclear facility, it hit Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, it even hit Isfahan, 3 of Iran's most sensitive nuclear sites, bombed directly. But Pickaxe Mountain was left completely alone. Trump's own explanation at that time was simple. There wasn't enough proof that anyone was actively using the facility, so there was nothing worth hitting there. That was the official line for months. Iran kept digging away, expanding tunnels, while the world's attention moved elsewhere. Now suddenly, that same untouched mountain is the site Trump is threatening to strike first and hardest. Something shifted between no evidence and we will be hitting that area very heavily. That shift is the entire story here, and it starts with what Israeli intelligence claims it found.
Do you believe that Iran has moved nuclear centrifuges into Pickaxe Mountain? And when you say we're not done yet, what is left to finish?
Well, I think that they may have. We don't have it on record. You're talking about the centrifuges. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything unless they have the material. They don't have. We follow the material. That's where the action is, and we'll be hitting that area probably pretty soon. And there's not a thing they can do about it. Normally I wouldn't say that. If I thought they could do something about it, I would never say that. But we'll be hitting that area pretty soon, and very heavily.
Rewind to 2020, Iran had an above-ground facility capable of assembling 6,000 advanced centrifuges every single year. A serious industrial-scale enrichment operation. An explosion destroyed it. Most analysts called it sabotaged, widely believed to be an Israeli operation, though it was never officially confirmed. Iran's response was not to rebuild in the open. It was to go underground, literally inside a mountain, with a facility Tehran itself described as bigger and more advanced than what was lost. Their own state messaging called it something being built in the heart of the mountain. Since construction began, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, has never once been granted access to inspect it. Its chief has publicly said Iran has not allowed independent verification of its centrifuge stockpile since 2021. That's 5 years of a nuclear facility operating completely outside any international oversight, hidden under a rock with no outside body able to confirm what's actually happening inside. And now let's come to the intelligence that changed the conversation. The Wall Street Journal reported that Israeli intelligence tracked something new. thousands of uranium enrichment centrifuges moved into Pickaxe Mountain last fall. And the timing is what makes this explosive. The movement happened right after Washington and Tehran had agreed on a memorandum of understanding, a genuine diplomatic olive branch meant to de escalate tensions. In other words, it appears that while talking peace publicly, Iran may have been quietly relocating its most sensitive enrichment equipment into its most protected bunker. The CNN separately reported that part of Iran's stockpile of uranium enriched to 60%, dangerously close to weapons grade purity, may have been moved there as well. It's worth being precise here. None of this has been independently verified by any neutral body. Neither the US nor Israel have released the underlying evidence to public. This is intelligence assessment, not confirmed fact, but it's the assessment now driving the American policy and Israeli diplomacy at the highest level. Trump's own public position has visibly flipped, and fast. Barely a week ago, he told reporters that the United States had nothing on record confirming that there were no centrifuge transfers at all. Then, meeting Lebanon's president, a very different Trump showed up. He said American forces would be hitting Pickaxe Mountain pretty soon. He said that Tehran was desperate for talks, warning ominously that Iran had not seen anything yet. Even earlier than that, in a television interview, he'd already floated the strike directly, threatening to take out Pickaxe Mountain and warned the Iranians to be ready. So within roughly a week, the public messaging moved from uncertain and skeptical to threatening and specific. And that's not a small shift in tone. That's a president moving from doubting the intelligence to acting like he's already decided to believe it, right before Netanyahu visits to reinforce that belief in person. This is exactly where Netanyahu's Washington visit fits in. His delegation is expected to lay out what Israel is calling hard evidence, physical proof, in their words, that the centrifuge transfer is real and that Tehran has been using ceasefire diplomacy purely as camouflage while quietly rebuilding its uranium enrichment underground. The Israeli argument is blunt and simple. Iran isn't negotiating in good faith, it's stalling for time while it reconstructs exactly what the war was supposed to destroy. And there's a more alarming detail buried in these reports. American forces have reportedly drawn up contingency plans for a ground operation, not just an airstrike, but boots on the ground, physically going in to secure the enriched uranium believed to be stored inside the mountain. Now, that detail matters more than any bomb because military experts say that Pickaxe Mountain may simply sit too deep, just for an air campaign to destroy it. It's deeper and more fortified than Fordow, which America's bunker busters successfully struck a few months ago. No confirmed structural weak point exists this time, which is exactly why boots on the ground is even being discussed as an option at all. So the Pickaxe Mountain is a test of whether the ceasefire that ended last year's war was ever real. Or was it just a pause? Both sides quietly used the time to reload and reposition. If Iran genuinely moved its most sensitive nuclear material into the one site left standing, that's not diplomacy. That's insurance, built in secret while the world assumed that the danger had passed. And if the United States now concludes that an airstrike alone isn't enough, that troops need to go in on the ground to physically secure that enriched uranium inside Iranian territory, that stops being just a strike. That becomes an invasion trigger with consequences far beyond Iran's borders. For every country watching oil prices and the state of Hormuz nervously right now, the real story is in the mountain itself. It's how close this region has quietly moved back towards a war that everyone assumed had ended just months ago. This is Times Axis, where global stories meet India's perspective. Click on the bell icon to subscribe because the next big global shift will have India at its center.